Vishnu Gurudevo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sagana Vavadu Sakano Punaktu Sakaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvina Vadidamastumavat Vishabhagai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram Tattva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mokshunam Yidarthaya Tattva Bodha Abhidhiyate. Namaskaram. So, Nanu Shakankarasya Kinjit Nyasya Jivasya Nirahankarasya Sarvajnasya Ishvarasya Tastvamasi the Mahavakyat Katam Abheda Buddhihi Syat Ubayoho Vriddha Dharma Akarna Tattvat Iti Chena. So we saw that. So how can we compare, equate the limited knowledge full of ahankara, false notion, jivatma, to the sarvajnan parabrahmam, Ishvara? How can we equate them? How can these sentences like Tattvamasi and such mahavakyas show the non-difference between these two, which are diametrically opposite? So this is the question raised, and the Guru said, if you think so, iti chet, if you say so, na, it is not the case. Then we looked at that root of this Mahavakya. To recapture, Mahavakya are those phrases in the Vedas, Vedantas in particular, where according to Advaita Vedanta are those phrases which bring the unification of Jiva, Brahma, Aikyam. It's even called Jiva, Brahma, Vedanta, Rakasya. There are many, many such Mahavakyas. Every school brings certain key phrases. So here, Tattvamasi is a Mahavakya quoted. So we briefly saw this Mahavakya occurs in an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad comes from Samaveda. We saw these things. It's got many, many sections. Just to recollect to you, Upanishads are the utterances of a profound truth as experienced by the Rishi, either as an exclamation to himself or most possibly as a narration or an answer to a disciple. In some Upanishads, there are some stories, some context. I say stories just to say as a legend, but it could be a history, an incident maybe. And using that context, the Guru delivers the knowledge. So story and question and answers are two important tools in learning things in life. That's why history is his story, somebody's story. That gives you knowledge. Unfortunately, we don't read history these days, but history is the greatest revealer of knowledge. Such profound histories, when they are dramatizing the truth to give an impact to us, they are called Puranas. Here we are not talking about the Puranic stories, we are talking about the incidents or context in which the Upanishad reveals the knowledge. So our plan is not to go into the Upanishad in deeper, neither to go to the stories in a great length, because we are in the Tattva Bodha, the Prakarana Grantha, which gives you something of everything, so that we understand the taste of Vedanta so that we can dwell deep into that. So to set the context for Tattvamasi, it is useful to know the story behind it. So the Upanishad has got two parts, the Upasana part and the Brahma Vidya part. We touched upon in the last class very briefly, Vedas, the instruction manuals for humankind, is like a version. Even what we got today, what Vedavyas has prepared in 4 different headings, is just a token of the Vedas. It is not exhaustive. Even that we can't complete it. So in that, everything is covered, including how you lead a life in this world, Shastras, Dharmas, the world hereafter, the life hereafter, and something which beyond all these worlds. That's a jnana. So the upasana is a very important aspect of life. People take some time. Even I remember a friend of mine is a great scientist, and he claims he's an Advaita, and he says, no, I don't go to temple because I follow Advaita, or something like that. If Vedantis think like that, why should they talk about bhakti? Why should Shankara write lots of slogas? So we must understand why upasana is important. Upasana is, in the other words, is the means in which we are closer to the God. Upa means high, esteemed, closer, near. Upa asana. Asana means the seat. So upasana means the highest seat, the closest seat. What is the closest to who? Closest to what? Whatever you are wishing for. What do you mean? If I want to wish to be a particular job I want to get, or particular benefit I want to get, yes, then you do the upasana on that. You be seated next to it. How can I be seated next to it? Which means you position your focus, your mind, intellectual capabilities, and all your instruments of knowledge, your intensity of purpose, everything is on that, with that, near that. When you are like that, when your mind is completely on the object of contemplation, you not only get that object, you become that object. What is the Drishtanta, example for it, evidence for it? Many things. There are subtle things, like, the guy who does who controls the monkey and does all the tricks in the streets. If his bond is so close to the monkey, you can see resemblance of the monkey in his face. Shastra says even a very anyonya husband and wife, their face reflects each other's face. It's very simple physics, when you're closer to the reflecting media, the more closer you are, more finer the reflections are. Vedanta gives you a little bit more. You not only get that in you, you become that. So upasana is the greatest form of a mediation to achieve things in our life. So is it simply sitting closer to something? No. It is all very poetic. It means you position your gross, subtle bodies, your intellectual faculties, on that object of contemplation, and do that with certain principles. Now, we have a general feeling that, when the Shastra says a principle, we just ignore them. Even some are very smart, we can say, oh, there is a parikaram for it. Oh, you can do it 1 time, you can do 3 times. Well, you have no liberty to do that. Even to go to a dentist, you have to follow the queue. You have to stand take the ticket, wait for the dentist to come. Lie down the way he asked you to lie down. We politely do. So same thing in Shastras, in the Paravidya, we have to follow the rules. So Upasana gives you the rules. So many such Upasanas are there in the Vedas, in the Karma Kantas, the Brahmanas, in Aranyakas, in the Upanishads. They are different in the nature because the purpose is different. So, as I told you before, when he learned about the Shantipada, Ashidoma, Sadgamaya, the prayers in the Upanishad are very different. They ask for very different things compared to you do a Yajurveda mantra for Aikyam or a slokam about, Vivaha Prapti. They're very different. So, same with Upavasam. Vasam means abode, living. Upavasam means living near that. Upasana, Upavasam, all together. It goes through. It's not just not eating, right? Of course, not eating is a sign of committing. But you should not just say, look, I'm not eating today. Then you watch television, you think about what you could have been eating otherwise. That's not Upavasam. So all these physical activities of not eating, not hearing, not speaking, they're all external symbols of Upavasam. But to be keeping next to the Upasana Murti or Upasana Lakshya. So here, in this Upanishad also, there are Upasanas. So the Upasanas are given. This is one of the reasons why I think Chandogya Upanishad, when compared to, say, Brihadaranya Upanishad, very different, because the Brihadaranya Upanishad is one of the profound Upanishad, like many other great Upanishads, talks about Brahman, Atma, nothing else, just single focus. All that is talking in the perspective of the Paramarthika Satya. Do you remember what is Paramarthika Satya means? That is a level in which you are seeing beyond the empirical reality. You can't have the Advaita Anubhuti without you are going to the Paramarthika Satya. But we are not there. So if I am not there and if I don't have the capacity to think from that place, how do I then understand all this? And therefore, certain Upanishad approaches this not in the Paramarthika level, but at the empirical level. Therefore, they are very important Upanishad guidelines, because, somebody was arguing about this Advaita, all this argument, and someone said, look, just go and pray to God. Just you don't have the capacity to discuss this right now. So sometimes you need a very simple steps. When you get very confused, you don't want intellectual discussion. You just want somebody to say, just do it. Chandogya Upanishad is one where it is therefore takes the samsaris of Dagastas, kings and rishis and family members, and everybody is coming into the stories asking for salvation, and upasanas are given. So Tattvamasi comes in a part of this Upanishad in chapter 6 called Sadvidya. But it's an interesting story. Without taking too much time, I'll give you a story, so it will make it interesting for you. So there was a saint, a seer, a sage called Uttalaka. He is the son of a great sage called Aruni. So it's called Aruni Uttalaka. He is also Gotram's Gautama. So you got Aruni Uttalaka Gautama. So let's say Uttalaka. He's a very great seer. See, all those in those days, in Vedic days, you can live in a Grahasthashrama. Then you take the Vanaprastha. And once you finish your duty, depending on your those days by birth and the school, basically by your guna, you finish your Grahasthashrama. At some stage, You take vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means you're not running away from anything. You give the keys to the Godrej bureau and the bank lockers to your son-in-laws and sons and daughter-in-laws. You get out of this. Don't get involved in this thing. Contemplate on what is the next step in life. And once you achieve that one, for us, once you reach the retirement age, we get into the vanaprastham. Then we start thinking about what my life has been, what am I supposed to do now, how do I prepare for my next Janma. All that is important because the timing that we have is a bonus to us because all that has been done is for yourself. But we miss it. We go back to the old days. We go back to think that we want to get involved in everything else. We don't let others make mistake because our knowledge comes in, our experience comes in. We know everything. We want to teach them. We want to catch them before they make mistake. So we get back into this utter confusion. So its insight is therefore to practice the capacity to renunciate even when you are in the young life for an hour or two in a week, in a month, so that when you come to an age where you are able to renunciate and look for yourself, you can take it. The sannyasa ashram is the last one, where you give everything. So many sages and rishis used to be in vanaprastham. They had families, wives, children. But their goal is to give knowledge to others. So Udalakar was one of them. He had a son called Shvetaketu. So he was given the Upanayanam early days, the ritual to initiate in the Vidya. And for the next 8 years, he studies under him. And he is a very bright student. So he learns everything. And then you want to take a gap year. So the teacher says, yes, you learned everything. Go and explore the world and come back. So he leaves. So your father has told him that he learned everything. So he's obviously very proud. With a chip on the shoulders. He goes to a neighboring country. He wanders around. There was a nation. In that country, there was a king called Prabhahana. Prabhahana is a very learned king. The king is there. So he goes to him and the king sees the young Brahmin boy and he adores him, gives him all that he needs. And the young boy says, I have learned everything. I'm Sarvagya. I'm coming on the gap here. I'm looking around the world. The king was very happy. Oh, very nice of you. So you must have learned everything else. Yes, I have learned everything else. Then he asked some questions. In fact, he asked 5 questions. So please, Swami, tell me, what happens after death? When you die, what happens? So he thinks, oh, this is something my father did not teach me. My guru did not teach me. He said, oh, king, I do not know this. First time he got a shock. The king asked then, okay, what happens to those after once they go somewhere after death, do they return to the earth? Second question, do they return to the earth? Sorry, blank, I don't know the answer. The king asks, Veda says that after the embodiment is shed, there are 2 paths to go. One is Deva Prayag, Deva Marga. Other one is Pitru Marga. Go towards the ancestors, there's a path. To the Devas, there's another path. How do this path go? Do they cross each other? He blinks, I do not know. Okay. What happens when all these people are going there and say somewhere in the Pitraloka, Devaloka, if all the people go there, won't it overflow? Because so many people are going all the time. Won't it overflow? I don't know. He says, I don't know. I never thought of that. Then he asks the last question. Okay, let me talk about this world. Here they say everything is come out of Panchabhuta, especially we came out of the water. Amritam is apaha, jalam, jalasmin, sannidham guru. Tell me why water is the Amritam? Why did we come from water? By this time, I think the young boy was completely humiliated. He just said, I do not know. I will come back after learning this. So he comes back very angry. Okay, this is not part of this chapter, but I'm giving you from the previous chapter so that it connects to that one. He comes back to the teacher and his father. Furious, he comes and says, look, you told me that you taught me everything. You didn't teach me this. How can a guru not teach everything? The Mahapariva has given this, in Kanchi Pariva has given this example and say, a guru is one who gives away everything. He completely empties. No guru teaches only part of it so that the Sishya should not become better than me. No. A guru teaches everything. So the Shvetaguru asked, you didn't teach me this, Dad. I got humiliated. That means you were not fulfilling the Lakshana of a guru. So Uddalaketu says, well, I taught you what I know. I taught you what you ought to know. But I didn't know this. So I accept that I did not fail in imparting what I know, but I fail that my knowledge is not complete. So he says, what do we do? Shall we go to the king and ask for the knowledge? So Uddalaka says, let's go to the king and we gain the knowledge. The young blood is, in ego is still hurt. No, I will not go. You go. You will learn and come back and tell me. So Uddalaka goes to the king. He says, he goes to the king. I cut the story short, not taking too much time. So he goes there and then he worships him, and the king is kneeling before him, and Brahmanottama will come here, and what can I do? Take rest and I'll ask you tomorrow. So next day he gets up and says, look, I don't want anything from you. By the grace of God, I have everything. But I want the knowledge because you asked some questions to my son. I have no knowledge. Can you teach me? I am your Sishya. He surrenders to him. It is very uncommon in those days of a Kshatriya teaching a Brahmana. It's not ego or something, because the knowledge level are very different. But this imposes, this in fact gives, there are quite a few instances in this Upanishad, which gives you, not always that is the case. Knowledge was there everywhere. Krishna was a Kshatriya and he was teaching everyone. So here he says, I will teach you this, but I cannot teach you that I do not know that you are fit for this teaching. This is a vidya for Kshatriyas. So stay with me. So he stays with him many days, and one day after a year or something, he calls him and says, look, I will teach you now. Then he teaches a vidya upasana. We will not dwell into this. He says, all this knowledge is there. To understand this knowledge, you need to have a upasana. See, why can't he just give the knowledge? Why you need to upasana? Imagine, so I am at home and say that somebody, my mom is there, or somebody is there making me food every day. Fantastic food. Why should I worry? If food is my only life, I just eat. I don't need to worry about anything. I didn't know how it is made. Somebody is feeding me, not only to my needs, also to my wants. But imagine I don't have that person. Then what I have to do? I have to learn to cook. So I need to go and learn the cooking. Imagine I have take the cookbook, Meenalaya-Channel, whatever the cookbook that you think is important. I by hearted everything. Give me any recipe, page number, I can tell you how to make it. I know everything, how to cook, how to make the fantastic food. I am knowledgeable now. Can I eat? Can I feed anybody else with this? Useless. It is now a lot more irritating to me because I know how to cook. Even I can see the elements of cooking. I can see the thing that I need for cooking. But I have not done it before. Or you attempt to cook. You don't know anything about cooking. You try to make something. You try to eat a stone and you say stone cannot be eaten. You learn that. You eat a fruit. You cook the fruit. You learn it. So all these are struggles and ordeals. Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnanam, Brahma Anuphuti is a 5-course meal. The Guru is the one, like the mother or the partner, feeding you, cooks, gives you food. So if you are with the Guru, you can learn. We think when you go to Guru, you learn things. Yes. We call Guru everybody. A violin teacher is a Guru, a potty teacher is a Guru. That's nice. Good to say that. For reverence point of view, yes. For the Atma Vidya, the Guru is not imparting you the knowledge. For the Anubhuti, he's imparting the knowledge to shed your ignorance. They're two different things. The knowledge you get is to remove your ignorance. Therefore, he is removing something from you, not giving you something. Why? Because there is nothing to be given. But in this analogy, he is feeding you. You know, in Shankara's, when Shankara was alive and he had 4 disciples, many disciples, 4 important ones. And one's job is just to clean up the ashram, wash up Shankara's clothes, cook food, clean up. He never listens to Brahmavidya. So one day, I think the very seasoned disciple is looking at Guru. Guru is not teaching. He's waiting for this dull, so-called dull disciple to come inside. He has not come. So the very senior one says, even if he comes, he's like a stone. What's the point of waiting? He'll start. The Guru, just to teach this proud person a lesson, when this other disciple come inside the hall, he looks at him and asks him to say something. And then he says a verse on Shankara in a meter called Totaka. It's a very difficult grammar in Sanskrit. He recites that Totaka, Ashtakam it's called. Profound knowledge. Whatever Shankara thought. This chap never listened to him. He was not arguing with him. He was not doing Bhimamsam, anything. But he was fed by this Mother Shankara. So Upasana is like that. So we have to, so you can gain all this Advaitic knowledge, Vedantic knowledge you can have. But if you don't have the surrender to the Guru, surrender to the God, if you don't do Upasana, you are just a walking cookbook. So we need a cookbook, we need to have the cooking expertise, but we need the flame of Guru. We need to be near there. So that's the reason Upasana was given. So coming back to the story. So the king gives him Panchakni Upasana, 5 Agni Upasana. This is called the Vaishvarana Vidya. Yeah, Vaishvarana Vidya. Vishwam means the world. Naram means the human being. Vaishvarana means embodiment in the earth and the celestial being. That means the life, all the life form, the source of the life form, Agni. Agni is called the ultimate consumer. In Vedas, Agni is the predominant deity. This is the first perceivable form of the gross energy. You can't see air, you can't see space. Fire is the first perceivable form. Agni is not just a flame, Agni is the seed of the fire. So Panchakni, so I won't go into the details of it. There are many upasanas he is teaching. They're all metaphorically done. There are physical ones, an altar, a flame, something to go into the Aikyam, a purpose, a Jama. So if you take a Aikyam, there are 5 things involved. Like this, he starts from very physical Aikyam to very subtle Aikyam, where the celestial being is the cover, earth is the Aikyam Patram, the air is the puja, vidhanam, the Agni is the fire, you are the karta. Like this goes on. And Taitra Upanishad also comes in. So contemplative stuff, we don't need to go in there. So you learn this Panchagni Vidya, you understand the answers to the 5 questions. So he comes back and then he teaches his son. The insight is that you never stop learning. There's always a new thing comes in, you go and learn, you become a disciple. Now, Shvetaketu learns everything he learns now. We come back to now, our context now. He's a learned boy now, 12 years finished. He thought, okay, I learned everything. So his father thinks about him, okay, this guy needs a little bit more education. So he says, look, in our family, we're not finished just reciting Veda Dhyanam. We need to go into the deeper contemplation. So you go to this particular guru, these gurus, spend next 12 years, okay, your graduation, and come back. So he goes there. He's a bright chap and he goes there, he learns from everybody. 12 years passed. Shvetaketu now comes back with his father. How does he come? Adhida Manasa. Big-minded. Now in Sanskrit, Mahamanaha means what it means is that one who thinks of very high of himself. Mahamana. He comes as a very Mahamana. All he thinks of himself as, I learned everything. I've gone to so many things. I learned maybe more than my father. He comes there. The way he acts, the way he sounds himself, his father thinks, okay, this chap hasn't learned. So he asked him, oh Soumya, oh my dear child, have you learned what is unthinkable by learning becomes a thought? Unhearable, learning which you become heard. Unknowable, learning about that become known. Did you learn that lesson? Shocked him. It's a bright chap. Shocked him. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me about that. How is it possible? Dad, how is it something which cannot know? How can by learning it becomes knowable? This is impossible. Then he says, well, I'll show you. Look at the pot, the mud pot. When you see it, what do you see? You see the pot. When you touch, what do you touch? You touch the pot. But you touch the clay that is the pot is made. Can you just leave the clay and bring the pot to me? He says, I can't do. The pot and the clay are inseparable. But not before the pot was made. Yes. So what do you see? There's an inseparable form of the cause. You touch the clay. Yes, I touched the clay. You touch the pot. Yes, I touched the pot. Is clay the pot or pot the clay? He says all the forms are inseparable from the underlying cause. He says, okay. Then he takes another example. He's wearing a bracelet and golden jewelry. Look at the golden jewelry. Gold nugget becomes jewelry. In many forms it can be. Same with it, there's a nail cutter there. Look at the nail cutter, there's a steel there. So he is teaching him in the example, which we've seen through before. Okay, I'm not getting deeper into this. We know this before. The name and the form, even though inseparable from the cause, are different from the cause. The cause is there everywhere. Then the boy Shvedakeda thinks, I know this, Dad. This exactly happened to me before. You didn't teach me about Panjagni, then we had to go and learn it in a hard way. Same way, these teachers probably did not know all these things. That's why they did not teach me. You seem to know. Teach me. You see, teaching is imparting knowledge, not imparting information. Not even imparting knowledge. Knowledge comes in as an effect of it. It is good teaching is all about sharpening our learning faculties. There are certain things you have to by heart. Agreed, granted, information need there. But eventually, it is not that stays in your ability all the time. It is the capacity to comprehend. If you do a PhD, they do a 1-year research degree. What they're basically asking you to do is not, okay, people think, okay, this is for information gathering. That's not the issue. Information gathering can be done anytime. It is the skills to gather the information, ability to define the problem, ability to define benchmarks for the data that you need for the input. So the skill set is what you need. So therefore, you don't blame the teacher that he did not give you the knowledge. You did not sharpen the faculty to apply it further. Anyway, that's a point I want to make. He says, yeah, Soumya, don't worry about it. I will tell you what it is. Then he start, that's called Sat Vidya. So the Sat Vidya is what important in this lesson. So he start that one with this mantra, Sadeva Soumya Idamagra Asit. Ekam eva advitiyam. When he finished examples of this mud pot, gold nuggets, and the scissors, explaining the cause of, the underlying cause of everything. Do you remember that in Vedanta class, many classes back, we talked about it? There is, book is there. I am, he is. The isness is always there. Gold is there, gold is, necklace is, bangle is. I melt this bangle. Bangle is not now, gold is. The isness is Sat. So very important here, he uses the word Sat. Sat eva, the existence alone, the truth alone, the Brahman alone, the Atma alone. Soumya, oh my dear child, idam agra asit. Before, agra means, idam agra means here, before everything else. It's a notional timing, but it is timeless. Of the beginning, what was there? Only the existence was there. Ekam eva, that alone, advitiyam. There is nothing other than that. You can't split, there are no two things. You can't pinch something yet. There's no number one. If there's number one, there can be, make it half, make it two. Nothing. Sat. Sat advitiyam. Nothing else was there. So that Sat, the next one, Tadaiga ahur asat, asat evadam agra asit. Some people, the same thing, asat, they call it asat. Non-existence was there. Some people say, before everything else, there was non-existence. This is the Nyaya Vaisheshikas. It's like, if I say, look, can you go and check in my next room, my dog is there or not, my pet dog is there or not? And you go there and come back and say, dog is not there. If it's not there, you don't come and tell me, yes, the non-existence of the dog is there. You won't come and tell me, would you? Which is fact. Non-existence of the dog is there. Is same as it is non-existent. In the Nyaya Vaisheshikas, all this logician go into the kind of a thing, and they say, no, it is asat. Here, non-being. So for them, the being is something which can have expression, gunas, and all this kind of stuff, all the attributes. So we ignore that one. He will ignore that, and he says, Aikyam eva advitiyam. He's going to prove it later. It's only Sat. So what I want you to focus here, he is teaching the Sat Vidya. Sat Vidya means knowledge about existence. Recall what we learned in the initial chapters. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Satchit Anantam. So we identified the Atma as well as the Brahman into three names, Sat, Chit, and Anandam. Here he takes the Sat as a, therefore when he talks about Sat, even though he talks about existence, he talks about the Brahman. So this is a very interesting difference of opinion in Madhvacharyas and Sri Ramanuja. He says, when he says Tattvamasi later, we take Tat is the Sat, the existence. Tvam is you, Asi. You are the existence. So the fine difference they make is, no, it is not saying you are the existence. They are saying the existence is in you. Whether you can say the wave is a part of the ocean or wave is the ocean. Let's not worry about that. So the reason it's called Sadvidya because it is talking about existence. So how did he taught this one? So before you go into the detail, he also gives some more examples. He tells him, he looks at the face of the Shvetaketu, is very mystical, bit confused, shocked. And he says, okay, go there and think about your sleep, he says. Think about the sleep. What happened in the sleep? He says, everything is gone. The world is gone. Where is it gone? It's gone in you, only to come back next day. Because you know it is coming back because there is a recognition of what has happened before. So what is that hides everything and releases you? He's not very clear. Then he says, okay, go and get me that fruit. He shows the fruit, a fig tree is there, bring the fruit from there. He brings the fruit and open the fruit. He opens it. And what do you see? I see lots of seeds. And take a seed, a very small seed, break it open. He breaks it open. What do you see? He said, nothing. Are you sure there is nothing there? The tree came out of this seed, is it not? The fruit is from the tree. The tree is from this seed. You can't see the seed. It cannot get from the earth everything else. So therefore, the existence exists there in avyaktam that you cannot see. So he is teaching him step by step. First of all, he teaches existence always exists. Forgive me, my English is not very helping here. What I'm saying, existence always exists means you never cease to exist. mark in your mind, no death should really frighten you. No fear of death should really worry you, because you always exist. The worry, therefore, don't I have to worry? Yes, you have to worry about what? Worry about in what form I'm going to exist. And if I have a way to ensure that form that I'm going to exist is something which I want to exist in that form. And can I do that? Yes, you can do that. Therefore, Bhayam should be out of this Vedanta class, the benefit of it. So Avyaktam he learns. Then he takes him to the tree. He said, pierce on this tree on the bark. Drink the juice. He tastes the juice. Pierce from the stem of the tree. Pierce from the root of the tree. He said, tastes exactly the same. You can see now the existence as it pervades, percolates everywhere. It is Sarvam Vishnu. It is all over the place, all pervasive. Then he says, what about different trees? Then he said, okay, bring the honey. Can you tell me from which flower the honey came? He said, no, honey come from different trees, flowers, inseparable. Then he shows a river. This river goes towards the ocean. That river goes from the ocean to the ocean. But when they all come into the Sagaram, there is no difference. I'm just saying all this in a rapid way because all that you know. It's all giving example. Each example is taking him towards the truth by removing a domain of suspicion. Separateness, suspicion is gone from the name and the form. Cause and effect, pervasiveness, differences, abhedam, uniqueness, merging, Aikyam, the rivers merging into this. Oh, here another example I forgot. Salt. He said, he asked him to bring a cup of water and asked him to put some salt. Obviously, salt disappears. He says, where is the salt? He said, I can't find it. Then, do you agree salt still exists? Yes, it exists because I put the salt. I know it is there. But those who have not seen that you put in the salt, how do they know salt exists? Drink it. Drink it from the top, bottom, middle. Salt exists. So he just gives this example one after the other. And then in making all the example, he says that existence, Sat, Sadatma, Tattvamasi Shvaitaketu. Sat Atma, that existence is Atma. Tat Tvam Asi, you are that Shvaitaketu. What he's saying is, every effect is a manifestation of the cause. Again, we saw this before, by certain overlay or underlay to that. So effect is nothing but the cause in a varied form to have a temporal reality. There's nothing wrong to have an identity for the form. Otherwise, how do you call it? If everybody is Atma, Atma calling Atma, you cannot do that. You've got to have a name in this world. But internally, we know my name is I. Your name is I. Everybody will say I. So the name is one, I. The identity is many. I am Raja, Raj, Balaji. Like that you have identity you have. Name is one. So if you push the identity away, because it perishes, and how do I push it away? Here you do the upasana. What is upasana? Upasana is to be closer to what you are, what you want, what you aspire to be. Therefore, I don't want to be, if I want to have this computer and I can love the computer, I can be one with the computer. That's not what I want. I don't want this material stuff. I want my family. When I'm with my family, my wife, my child. But then I realized that this is again an effect. So it is my body, my health. Then I say this body also will go away. But my mind will go jump into body to body. So Sukshma Sariram. Therefore, my upasana moved from the world of objects to my family of objects to my physical body to my mind. When I say moving, it is not you discard others. It's not that you ill-treat them. No, everything is reverential. Come on. Just cross your heart and say, don't you love you more than you love your wife and your husband? The true answer is yes. It has to be. Even when you serve your beloved person, partner, you serve it, you know why? Because if you make the person happy, it gives you happiness. It is your happiness that drives you to do that. If you make your partner happy, and that gives you angry in your mind, you will not do it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not degrading love and affection. It's reverential. Our goal is to make others happy. Kitam vata. So we must say good things, nice things, make others happy. But always hold in your heart. If you don't hold this key in your heart, you will not be a loving person all the time because situation may change. You may have some personal problem. No, you always help others. You got a personal problem. Somebody calls you. That part of the evil will come to, okay, this person has no bloody business. I can't help him now. That may come. Durvasam is called. It will not come if you are truly in a nobly selfish. What is that selfish reason? If I help others, that makes me happy. Therefore, my happiness drive my action. Therefore, I always help others. If you're getting into that kind of a groove, that's it. You don't need Vedanta. Upasana takes you there. So what is Upasana? Therefore, means it is not sitting in a murti and throwing milk and honey and then do Naivedyam and eat. Okay, it gives you kind of a satisfaction. You are nowhere in Upasana. Upasana is your heart is with that. That Vigraham is not a charming Krishna or Rama sitting there. It is you. I always told you this before, when you do the puja, you do prana pradishta. It's there in all this, whether it's Ayers, Iyengar, Kshatriyas, Dvaitis, Advaitis, Smarta, everybody, even every puja is a prana pradishta. You do bring yourself into the Upasana Murti. So if you are Sai Baba Bhakta, Shankaracharya Bhakta, Rama Bhakta, you put the Pradibimbam or Vigraham because your mind is very wandering cat, just go around. So you need to tie them up. So you have a impressive picture or a thing there. Then what you do, interesting, you bring your energy, prana, you do some mantras, you bring all this energy, do all this kind of mudras and bhavanas, and then bring everything, and then you do this. What it means is visioning. You are visioning now, you, the I, worshipping I in the form of a murtam. If you have that thinking, then your upasana becomes very, very real. You do all the upasana because you need, because we are in Dvaitam. We need to really, we can't just say, I'm inside, why should I bring it out? I can be Parabrahman. Unless you are Ramana or you are Mahaparamacharya, we are not there. So we need Dvaitam. So we take it out. bring it. Once puja is finished, we have a mantra for it, and then we take it, drink the water, and symbolically, it goes inside. So you purified yourself. Now imagine now, that Sat is inside me, then how should I feel myself? Why should I mourn? Why should I be sad? Why should I be angry? Why should I feel depressed? No, I am Parabrahma. That's a feeling you must have. Don't afraid to have that feeling. Don't say it to anybody else. That's nonsense. Don't say I am God to anyone. Say to yourself. What's the difference? What's the benefit of it? The benefit is because I remember when somebody asked the question to Vivekananda, why you have idol worship? You worship the pictures. One king asked the question. Vivekananda did not say anything. Next day, when he was walking in his palace, and one of the king's ancestors' photograph fallen down on the floor, and about to step on it, and king hastened and jumped up and said, "Oh, my grandfather's picture." And he said, "It's just a picture. What is there in it?" So we put the picture to see a perception that we put onto that one. It is personal to us. So every form of worship is reverential. You worship a monkey or a cow or formless Allah, or we never ridicule anything. Everything is worship. The most supreme form of worship, as Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, is the Atma Prarthana. So what happened, therefore, your body becomes sacred to you. You won't throw poisonous food into us. You don't eat things that will harm your body, the physical body. Thought is also a food. The Panchayatnik Vritam, Upasana, the import of that is everything is a yajna. The whole world, sun is the flame, the stars are the smoke. Mother Earth is the yajna kundam. The light is the avaganam. The soma is the creation. So there's a yajnam going on. Mother Earth is pregnant with the sun's rays. Sun is a pitta. Mata is the earth. It produces beings. When the husband and wife, yajnam. When the sambhogam is an yajnam. Human life is yajnam. Eating is an yajnam, because when you eat, your body is a homakuntam. The food that you put in is feeds. There are billions and billions of cellular forms. Digestion is not that you do mechanically or chemically. Digestion is happening because there are cells that eat the food perpetually. Consumption is going on. Continuous cycle is going on. This is yajna. Everything that is consumed by the fire. You see, again, you look at the seer's great knowledge. What's the time? I'll finish. So, fire is the ultimate consumer. Agni is a consumption. So therefore, they figured it out. If all creation, manifestation, decay, dissolution, changes is metaphorically a yajna, and yajna is, as I told you, 5 things: yajna kundam, a fire, the feed, the yajna karta, the yajamana, a purpose. So the important part is the Agni. So if you see everything in the world is a yajnam, and you are Yajamana, then your act becomes reverential. In the teaching, for example, here teaching happens. I think we studied last year or year before Tattva Upanishad, and we didn't go in great detail, but I think there is a different upasana there. Santi upasana. You look at the top lip and the lower lip, when they touch together, the tongue comes in, words come out. So there is when they conjoin together, something happens. When the father and mother conjoin together, putra comes in, putri comes in. So everything. So you, by giving an example, the teacher says, contemplate on the union. So all this picturization, visualization is not for you to sit there and therefore dream everything as like, no, it's not that. It is to say that every act has got a reverential act where there is a consumption taking place. The consumer and the consumed are advitiyam, one and the same. Therefore, you become the witness to it, and you always watch this happening all the time while performing this. This is Karma Yoga. What Bhagavan says, Karma Yoga, what it means is that you do everything as a Aikyam. When you do as a Aikyam, you are different because you are Yajamana, but you're doing it for the own benefit. So you are able to see what is going on. But in all this, here the important point is Sat. So the Sat, the existence is what doing all this. In all the example that he has given is the Sat. So he says, Sadatma Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. You are that. So I would conclude it here. I am not going to dwell into the Upanishad anymore. So in the next session, we get back to Tattva Bodha and see what is the teacher's answers to that question. So we will complete it at this point. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Who is going to do the Shanti part today? Yatuji is there? Bala uncle can do.
Om Asato Ma Satgamaya
Sadgamaya
Asato Ma Jyotirgamaya
Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya
Om Sham Isham Ishanti
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Raja.
very
Thank you,
much.
Balaji.
Thank you.